Hello, this is Shadi with CDFA. Richard Soria, are you present in the meeting? And if so, please go ahead and unmute yourself and begin speaking.
I don't think that's Richard.
Hey, Richard, are you present in the meeting? Hey, Richard, you should have the ability to unmute yourself. It shows that you're currently muted, so please unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Is Richard on a phone?
Yes, I believe he's on his iPhone.
I think it's *6, Richard, to unmute yourself.
Hey, everybody, this is Joshua Kress, CDFA. I do want to thank everybody for your patience. We've got almost a quorum here once we work through the technical issues, so we should be starting in just a few minutes here. Thank you.
Hello.
Richard?
Hey, Richard.
I hear everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in. Thank you, Richard.
Sorry about the confusion. So is it time to start the meeting?
Yes, Richard, I believe we have a quorum if you want to go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the meeting is called to order at, I'm sorry, I don't have a watch. Does anybody have a watch? I'm a little,
We're at 10:15 a.m.
thank you. Welcome board members and the audience at home attending via the webinar to the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board meeting. Shadi?
Meetings of the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board are open to the public and comply with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. This act allows for public comment on all agenda items. Audience members may address the board following each agenda item. All speakers from the audience are limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Are there any members of the audience that require accommodation in order to participate in this meeting? Please use the raise hand feature on the Zoom application or send a message to CDFA Industrial Hemp if you have accommodations to participate in this meeting.
We will begin by conducting roll call for the board meeting, including introduction of our newest board member. Welcome, Jack Norton. When called upon, please provide a brief introduction for the audience participating on this webinar. Van Boostek,
Hello, Van Butik, UC Berkeley.
he's what?
Van Butik from UC Berkeley. I'm here.
Oh, thank you. Lisa Herbert,
Yes, good morning, everybody. Lisa Herbert, Sutter County Agricultural Commissioner, and I have member. Thank you.
good morning, Lisa. Jack Norton,
Hi, Jack Norton here. Thank you, Richard. I'm a farmer based in Alameda County in the Byron area. And as you said, this is my first IHAB meeting as a member. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
thank you. Ron Purcella, Rob,
Yeah, Rob Porcella here, Fresno County CBD and hemp finished products producer and also a grower.
thank you. Vanessa Ramirez,
Good morning, Vanessa Ramirez from Ventura County, and I am a hemp farmer.
good morning. David Robertson,
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Dave Robinson, Kings County Sheriff in the Central Valley, representing the California State Sheriff's Association. Thank you.
thank you. Richard Soria, a retired horticulture instructor and current pest control advisor. Lucas Wilson,
Hey, Richard, so Lucas is not showing up as being on the webinar. Lucas, if you called in using a phone number, if you could email or call our staff, you could email the Industrial Hemp line, the Industrial Hemp at cdfa.ca.gov email address, so that way we can note which phone number you are and we can call on you and unmute you, so that way you can participate. Thank you.
thank you, Josh. Each board member should have received an email with all the handouts for today's meeting. Copy of the agenda are available for audience members at our website. All handouts will be brought up on the screen and copies will be posted online following the meeting. The topics of discussion for this meeting are brief update on legislation for industrial hemp, program budget task force report, brief update on registration, rulemaking, and other program activities, board member update, annual board meeting schedule. Are there any requests or corrections or changes to the agenda order? Okay, I don't hear any. Moving on. As a reminder, the program asks that all board members check the current board member list posted on CDFA Industrial Hemp webpage for any needed corrections. During the board meeting, all board members will not be muted by the program to allow for full participation. To minimize background noise, please make sure to personally mute yourself during the meeting when you are not talking. There are no breaks scheduled on the agenda, but we will take a break approximately every hour as needed or requested. A quick note on public comments. We will have the opportunity for public comments throughout the meeting, as well as an opportunity for general comments at the end. For comments during an agenda item or pending board motion, please keep comments pertinent to the item or motion. At the end of the meeting, we will have opportunity for additional comments, both related to the meeting and for items on the agenda, not on the agenda. We request all individuals who would like to comment on an agenda item to use the raise hand feature in Zoom. We also request for each speaker to state their name and affiliation before commenting. Due to a large number of attendees, we'll be limiting all commentators to a maximum of 3 minutes per agenda item, unless there are follow-up questions from the board. We will be timing all commentators and will try to provide warning prior to the timing ending. Thank you for your consideration as we try to provide everyone with an opportunity to comment during the proceedings. If you have any questions for CDFA regarding industrial hemp and the industrial hemp program, please direct your questions to the CDFA staff. You may contact them by emailing or calling 916-654-0435. Okay, Josh. Brief update on legislation for industrial hemp.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. So for anyone who doesn't know, my name is Joshua Kress. I'm the branch chief of the Pest Exclusion Branch at CDFA within the Plant Health Division. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. I'm going to rely on staff to make sure you can hear and see anything that I bring up. So I have a very quick update. Right now, there are 2 bills that CDFA is aware of that are of concern to hemp industry stakeholders: Assembly Bill 45 and Senate Bill 292. So a few quick notes before I mention those is that updates on legislation for this board meeting are being provided for information only. We believe that, and I believe that it is important that stakeholders are aware of bills that affect them, but this board is not advisory to the legislature. So just to make sure that the board and public attendees are aware, there is no mechanism for any recommendations made to CDFA by either the board or the public to be directed from CDFA to the legislature. While CDFA and the board cannot take action, before I'm done, I will mention ways that any interested party can take action and can make recommendations to the legislature. As I go through, what I'm going to do is I will be bringing up the bill's websites as I discuss them, but I'm certainly not an expert on this. And so for more information or for technical assistance, there is contact information found on those sites. We recommend that you reach out directly to the appropriate parties. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen as I go through. give me a moment. Okay, so hopefully you all can see that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about Assembly Bill 45. And I'm just going to go ahead and access it via web search just to make it easy, because that's the way that I do it. And I want to make sure that people kind of know how to get to places as they're passing along through here. So Assembly Bill 45 during the current year. Just a quick note on this bill. This bill is outside the scope of the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board, as there are no amendments to the Food and Agricultural Code in this bill. But it is important for stakeholders to be aware of, as it would impact the industry. So this bill proposes various changes to the California Health and Safety Code to clarify requirements for enforcement, clarify the requirements and enforcement for manufacturers of dietary supplements, food, beverages, cosmetics, and pet food that contain industrial hemp. So again, this bill does not make any amendments to the Food and Agricultural Code as is currently written. And CDFA is not aware of any changes that would actually impact either CDFA or the County Agricultural Commissioners or the board itself. Other than there is a provision in the bill that requires CDFA to collaborate with the Department of Public Health as needed. And so that's, again, Assembly Bill 45 regarding agricultural products. There's one additional bill. And again, I'm going to route myself through here just to show people different ways to access this site. Again, I am certainly not an expert, but there are multiple ways to access this information. The other bill that we are concerned with is Senate Bill 292 regarding industrial hemp. This bill proposes various changes to the California Food and Agricultural Code, Division 24, relating to industrial hemp cultivation, including mirroring some language from federal law. Again, this bill is within the scope of the board's mandate, but again, there is no mechanism for board recommendation to be directed from CDFA to the legislature. And so while we will certainly open it up for any discussion by the board or public, I do want to be clear, we certainly recommend that all stakeholders stay engaged and familiar with any legislation that may impact them. And so in addition to simply providing with the websites here, I do want to note that how to make comments to the legislature regarding bills. And so I'm going to briefly discuss that with regards to these bills. So the best way to do that is to write or to call the offices of the applicable the applicable legislative members. So again, the bill's author, in this case, Senator Wilk for Senate Bill 292. You can also write or call leadership in both houses. And then each bill is currently within, sorry, I lost track of my notes here. So you can also make comments to committees that will be hearing the bill, either before or during the hearing. The committees also have the ability to submit position letters ahead of or during committee hearings. And so again, we do recommend reaching out to the legislature in the appropriate method at the appropriate site where the bill is located at. Contact information and instructions are posted on all the applicable sites. So again, every member of the legislature has a website with contact information on it, including ways to provide comments to the legislator's office via either email, letter, or via phone call. Each of the committees in the Assembly and Senate also have a method to have a link on their websites to submit position letters regarding bills that are of concern. There are also, and we'll see if I can access it very quickly, there are also very good, citizens guides to the legislative process on both the Senate and Assembly's websites. So again, here's the citizens guide to that's posted by the California State Senate on how to participate in the legislative process and when and where to submit comments. And so again, we do encourage anyone who's concerned with any bill, certainly all of our stakeholders, to stay engaged and stay in touch on and stay familiar with legislation that's going to impact them as these bills move forward. And so again, that was a very quick update. And just to repeat, the two bills that we are aware of that would be impacting the industrial hemp stakeholders would be this one, which is Assembly Bill 45, which is currently scheduled for hearing in the Senate Appropriations Committee next week, and Senate Bill 292, which again amends the California Food and Agricultural Code with regards to industrial hemp cultivation. So again, that was a very quick overview and update. Richard, I'll go ahead and open it up if there are any conversation or comments from the board or any questions from the board. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen as well.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Are there any motions regarding this agenda item? Do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
So Richard, before we get started on additional public comments, I do know that we received one in writing. So we can have staff ahead of the meeting. So if we can have staff read that comment. And then again, just a reminder, if anyone else would like to make a comment to the board regarding this agenda item, please raise your hand and staff will call on you. Locke or Shadi, do you have that comment available to read?
Yes, Josh, we do. It's from Dylan Burns with Internet Chemical Analysis Lab. Their question is, we have seen a revamping of industrial hemp programs in other states that now require testing of pesticide. Is there a plan to take similar action? If so, will it be an expansive list with low limits as Colorado has done?
Yeah, and so again, and I will reiterate for everyone, if you do have questions that are program specific, please feel free to reach out to us. However, we are not the primary points of contacts for these bills. So I'm not aware of anything in these bills. However, we are not the experts on Assembly Bill 45, which I believe this question is addressing. And so we would recommend reaching out either to the legislature or to the Department of Public Health, who would be the ones that would be administering this bill.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any more public comments on this item?
Richard, it doesn't look like we have any hand raises for public comments.
Okay, thank you, Shadi. Well,
excuse me.
Oh.
Yes, we do. Can you hear me?
I could hear you, Wayne.
Good morning. Wayne Richmond, President, California Hemp Association. Good morning to the board. Welcome to Jack Norton. Thank you for taking the plunge and joining us. I'd like to make a couple of comments on it. AB 45 is a bill that needs to, in our opinion, and we've done a lot of research on this and got a lot of feedback from farmers, basically in its current configuration needs to go down in flames. We need to kill this bill. And thank you to Josh for pointing out many of the ways that you can interact through the legislative website. In addition, you should band together with your local voices and farmers and or organizations like ours and others that are involved in this fight against AB 45. For those of you who have been surviving on smokable hemp products, for example, this bans all of that. Okay, it ends your business. And I know several of you have contacted our offices directly and wondered, should you be moving out of state? So AB 45, without getting into the nuts and bolts, really should look at it. it's got some things, yes, additives and stuff like that, but then this bill is being promoted by those groups that are very moneyed, that want those additives in products and want small farmers restricted from things like smokable hemp as an alternative when the CBD market went sideways. So that's all I'll say at the moment. There's stopab45.com website. I suggest you go there. There's a link on the California Hemp Association main page to that website. A lot more information is there. Regarding SB 292 and Senator Wilk, kudos to Senator Wilk and his Chief of Staff, Baltazar Cornejo, who's the point person on this. There are some good changes. One, the HIA seat is being eliminated. Hallelujah. We've asked for this clarification for at least 2 years now since they have disbanded. SB 292 also contains very specific language that delineates destruction versus disposal, which are two entirely different outcomes as decided by the USDA and in the Farm Bill, and will have a great effect on making allowances for hemp farmers who are just trying to get to understand this crop. Just because it goes over 0.3% doesn't mean somebody's growing marijuana. We've seen too much knee-jerk reactionary law enforcement, which has really put the kibosh on this industry. As will be noted later in the presentations, registrations are down significantly, acreage is down significantly, and we'll talk about that later. But kudos to Senator Wilk for putting forth these clarifications. There are a couple things in there regarding plant propagation that I suggest interested parties take a look at that probably you would want to see changed. But you folks are the experts on that, and we'd be happy to help work with you to get your voices heard. Thank you for the opportunity to give at least the other side of the story.
Thank you, Wayne.
Richard, this is Jack Norton here. I was having some trouble unmuting myself earlier, but if I could have a second, I have a comment.
Sure.
Really, it pertains to what I believe Joshua was saying about us not having a way to recommend anything to the legislature. I understand that there's no formal way we could do that, but it would be something within the scope of the board that we could agree to draft a letter or something in the future if that was something we all agreed to do. Is that correct?
That's correct. Is that correct, Josh?
So yeah, I can go ahead and clarify that for you, Jack. So the board is advisory to the department, to the Secretary of Food and Agriculture. And so, I mean, certainly the board could craft a letter and make a recommendation to the secretary. However, again, with regards to legislation, the secretary does not advise or direct the actions of the legislature. And so, yes, while the board can make a motion with regards to a bill, there's no mechanism for the secretary to make that recommendation to the legislature, because again, the directions actually come the other direction. The legislature tells us what to do and what not to do and what we have authority for. With regards to Assembly Bill 45 specifically, that bill is outside of the board's authority. The board makes recommendations to the secretary with regards to the Food and Agricultural Code. That bill does not touch the Food and Ag Code. So that bill specifically would be outside of the board's authority, but Senate Bill 292 would not be.
Okay, that's very helpful, Josh. Well, in so far as this body is supposed to be a group of experts that advise the Secretary on the Food and Agricultural Code, would it be appropriate if we so desired to do so, to also make recommendations on subjects that pertain to it, like SB 292, in the form of a letter drafted to the legislative body itself, instead of directly to the Secretary of the CDFA?
So that's a good question. That's something that if the board would like to pursue that and does make a motion on that, that's something that we'll have to explore outside of internally at CDFA to determine whether or not that would be within the scope of the board's mandate in the Food and Ag Code. So that's something that we can explore if that's something that the board would like us to pursue. But if there's additional discussion or recommendation on that, please have it, and then we can pursue that as needed.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Do we have any other comments from the board or public comments on this agenda item? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Program Budget Task Force Report. It will be led by Van Bustic.
Excuse me. There is a comment in the chat. Someone says their comment was somewhat addressed, but not quite. They're asking if there's any plan to implement pesticide testing for hemp. If not, can the board discuss a possible recommendation to the appropriate authorities because they will not listen to the public?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your comments. So, and Van is having trouble unmuting. So just very quickly, there is no pesticide testing within the scope of Division 24 of the Food and Agriculture Code within the hemp law itself. I'm not familiar with or cannot really address whether or not there would be any pesticide testing for the crop, for the industrial hemp crop, as is done for other crops that are grown in California. That would have to be addressed. I believe that's managed under the Department of Pesticide Regulation in coordination with CDFA, but that's something that we could explore. But I'm not aware of anything with regards to that program specific to hemp. Again, that would be outside of the scope of the program that we're working on here. And again, I believe Wayne mentioned it, but I'm not familiar if there are any provisions requiring pesticide testing within Assembly Bill 45, but that would, like, if that is addressed in an industrial hemp law, that is where it would be addressed. And I would recommend reaching out to the Department of Public Health or the legislative office or the office of the author of the bill for more information on that.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
And there is a second comment from Rod Portella saying, I would like to second the board's decision to write a letter regarding SB 292, but they are unable to unmute.
Okay, well, we have a second. Did we have a motion?
Well, yeah, there is no motion on the table. You would need to discuss what you would actually want to go into the letter. So are we able to unmute Rob for some additional discussion on this? And Van?
They were able to unmute.
There we go. All right.
Okay, I can unmute now. This is Rob. No, I just, I appreciate, Jack's comments, and I think that as a board, we should come together and, put some kind of a letter together, whether it be to the secretary or directly to legislature to voice our opinion regarding this bill. I think, we're the experts in the industry, and they should listen to what we have to say. And if we have a vehicle to deliver that message as, a group of us, I think we should spend the time needed to get that done.
Thanks, Rob. Jack Norton, if I could jump in real quick. I personally wouldn't be prepared to draft the letter here and now, but perhaps the board would be interested in a motion to make a time to draft the letter if we have enough time in the first place to do that.
Can I go ahead and ask a clarifying question for both of you then real quick? So Jack, you just mentioned that you don't have anything in particular in mind at this point. Rob, did you have something in mind in particular that would be able to be discussed right currently?
Well, not exactly, but what concerns me is that we have these meetings and we discuss these items, and then we're left with, go onto the website and, individually, go out and leave a message to your legislature, which I've done, but I don't really get feedback from that. And, you know, I don't know who else, if anyone has done the same. You know, if we can agree that there's things in this legislation that we disagree with, and we want to put our voices together as one, I think it would make sense to do that. If we have, like I said, that vehicle to do so.
Sounds good. So if I could make a quick recommendation for the two of you and see if you'd be agreeable to it. You know, later on in the agenda, we do have a discussion on next meeting and agenda items. You know, my personal recommendation would be that we would schedule another Zoom meeting like this to have that discussion and have a motion. You know, unfortunately, we would need to give at least 2-week notice on that, which would still be within the legislative session. But if that's something that you're interested in, you know, we can talk about it either now or during that agenda item later in this meeting on, you know, if the board would like to have a meeting specific to crafting a letter for submittal, and during that time we would seek clarification on what is within the board's authority. Would that sound reasonable to you? And is that something you want to discuss further now or further later on when we get to that agenda item?
That's agreeable with me. If you know, we can discuss it later if that's more suitable.
Yeah, that sounds agreeable to me too. The only thing I might clarify is it possible that maybe one method we could do this is before the next meeting of IHAB, we convene a working group, a subgroup of any interested parties, something like that, where we could work on making a recommendation that then at the next meeting could be brought to the board so that it could actually be voted on then and would be more timely, I think, something like that.
Sure. So Jack, and this is something that this board has done in the past, and actually Van is about to provide a report, but the board can, or the board chair can assign a task force to further investigate an issue and come back with a proposal. If there are more than 2 board members participating in that, then those would need to be done at public meetings. However, if we have 2 or even just 1 board member further investigating a topic and looking to come back to the board with a recommendation, that board member can do so, or those 2 board members can do so and can speak with others who are not on the board about a given issue as part of their investigation and report back to the board. So that is a possibility. The only concern that I would have with regards to that is that if there is a document that is going to be presented to the board, we do try to provide that document to the public well ahead of the board meeting, at least 10 days ahead of the board meeting, which really cuts down on the time frame that you can do that type of work in while still ensuring that the public are sufficiently a part of that process. So that is something that we can do. Do you have any additional thoughts on that, Jack, or any questions or concerns?
Well, later in the agenda, we're actually talking about the board meeting schedule. Is that correct? Is there a set date for the next board meeting at this point? There's not. Is that correct?
Yeah. So right now, at a previous meeting, there was a tentative schedule set where we would be holding a meeting in November, which would be after the end of the legislative session. So that's something that can be talked about, yes, during that agenda item or during simply the agenda item number 9 that you see there on their screen, either one, where we could discuss a time frame for holding such a board meeting.
Okay.
So can we go ahead and, I mean, create this, you know, committee now to move forward on this?
Yeah, if Rob and I are the only interested parties, that would seem to make things simple. But if anybody else is interested in doing that, then the more the merrier, it seems like.
Was there any further discussion or comments from any other board members before we move on?
Hello, this is Vanessa Ramirez. I am interested on that letter, and you have my full support on the letter. However, I think that right now only 2 members can be part of the task force, and perhaps you guys should be should be creating that task force. However, but you have my full support on that. So I know on the next meeting agenda item number 9, we can suggest a time, but I would say in 3 weeks we can have the next meeting. So you guys have 1 week to draft that letter and present it, but you can with my full support.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah,
Any
thank
other-
you, Vanessa.
Any other board members with any discussion? Lisa?
Yes, hi, this is Lisa Herbert. Josh Kress, could you please clarify for me, FAC 81001 E states the board shall advise the secretary make recommendations on all matters pertaining to this division. Did you not say that? I'm confused. Are both bills or one bill not pertaining to the division? How can we
Yeah.
comment if it's
Correct.
not, if it's not in the Division 24?
Correct. So only one of the 2 bills does pertain to Division 24, and that's Senate Bill 292. And so the suggestion from Rob and Jack would be to craft comments with regards to that bill, to Senate Bill 292, which does pertain to Division 24 of the Food and Agricultural Code.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. All right, Richard, if there's no additional comments, did you want to go ahead and appoint members of a task force to report back at a future meeting that we will discuss later on the agenda?
Yeah, it sounds like Jack and Rob are interested.
Okay.
And if those 2 are the interested parties right now, and we only could have 2, I suggest that they draft a letter.
Great, thank you. All right. So Jack and Rob, staff will touch base with you after this meeting as well on process and making sure that they are going to have what they need in order to set up a meeting, but we'll have some additional conversation before the end of this meeting on meeting dates. Thank
Sounds
you.
fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're moving on to the program budget task force report from Van. Are you
Okay.
there, Van?
I am here. Okay,
Okay,
so this is some work that Joshua Chase and I put together. And I'm not sure if Joshua has seen the final report, so I'll take responsibility for all the errors here. And Joshua, please chime in if you have opinions or want to add anything. All right, next slide. So basically, I had been reviewing the current registration fees for farmers, and as you all know, the current registration fees are not covering the cost of the program within CDFA. And so we felt it was prudent as we think about increasing registration fees to cover the cost, just to check in and see what CDFA was doing with the money, how was it being spent. So we put together a budget task force. That was myself and Joshua Chase. We had our first meeting with CDFA February 25th, 2021, and a final meeting with them on April 5th. In between then, we sent a number of emails requesting information. And this PowerPoint slide is primarily that information in a PowerPoint. So one of the reasons for putting the PowerPoint together in this way was simply so that all the information that we had would be public and available to people if they're interested in looking at it. Although it doesn't make for a visually super pleasing presentation. Okay, next slide. So the first question we asked essentially was who's working on the program, how many people are hired, and what do they do? So the sort of lead role is the senior environmental scientist. This is the supervisory role, and they sort of lead or serve as the statewide lead person for most of the parts of the hemp regulatory program. I guess this is a question for Josh. Is anybody in this position right now? Josh Press.
Hi, Van. No, that position is currently vacant.
Okay, so this position was Michelle, I think.
Correct.
And it's currently currently empty. Okay, next slide. So the next slide, sorry, thank you. 3 environmental scientists. So these folks, I think the name environmental scientist is sort of a bureaucratic title within CDFA. They tend to do a lot of different things within the organization. But these three people seem to be the folks who do a lot of the technical consultations with state and federal groups, do training manuals, collaborate across the state and across the country, prepare responses to public records request acts, and yeah, basically do a lot of the day-to-day operations that keep the program moving. And there's three people that are hired in this position. Next slide. If you could go to the next slide, please. Thanks. One admin person who provides support for the program. Again, I listed all the responses that I received from CDFA. We don't need to read them now, but if you're interested, you can find this all online now. Okay, next slide. And two seasonal technicians who assist with a wide variety of tasks, data entry, maintaining records, various documents, etc. All right, next slide. The next thing we were interested in was the amount of contact hours that CDFA was having with the counties across the state. And it seems like each of the environmental scientists spend a lot of time in contact 20 hours a week with county commissioners and staff to provide regulatory and technical guidance. They also, CDFA does quite a bit of public education events. It was a little bit unclear how many hours that was. And then it seems like there's a huge amount of time spent replying to emails. So 2,900 public email inquiries since 2018. And that does not include anybody who called. Okay, next slide. We were interested in the process of sort of the paper forms that hemp registrants go through. We were interested in how that worked, and if this could be automated and made into an online portal that people could use. Essentially, it seems like right now a lot of this work is being done by the summer staff or the seasonal staff, and there's nothing that prevents this from being automated except for money and time. And there seems to be a feeling that this would take a year to develop a web portal for something like this. Okay, next slide. We were interested in what % of the program budget goes to pay for administration outside the program, and it's a pretty small %. And it compares, it's relatively similar to other departments within the program. Okay, next slide. We were interested in how much CDFA was currently spending with the counties. It was about half the budget was actually reimbursement to county staff. We were interested in whether the costs were negotiable, and it seems that the current scope of work sort of defines what counties can be reimbursed for. And we were interested in if counties would be able to apply additional fees to cover their full cost if the CDFA reimbursements did not cover them. And it seems that they are able to do that. Next slide. This is just a list of the county costs. This isn't really meant for people to be looking at right now, but you can download this from the iHab webpage. Look at it when you want. I just wanted this information to be public. Okay, next. Okay, so recommendations. There's a huge number of hours contact with county governments. So, if there's 3 ESs and they're each working 20 hours a week, that's over a full-time person a year. And this is expensive because CDFA can potentially be paid for both the hours of the county person as well as the hours of the CDFA person. So, CDFA should identify common points of contact and develop materials to help counties through these difficulties. So, are there places where each county is struggling, and are there resources that can be built to do this so that it's not always a contact with CDFA, but rather there's other resources the county can should, that people can access. In the future budget projections, it seems like as counties become more familiar with hemp, there could be a cost savings here. Ideally, or I would say, I imagine that a lot of these consultations are counties dealing with a problem for the first time, but once counties get more established and more used to dealing with hemp, hopefully these requests will be lessened. So it does seem that there could be cost savings in the future as counties become more familiar working with hemp. I still think CDFA should take bids to automate the web, the registration and the web portal. I mean, saying it's going to take a year to do this is sort of silly. I mean, most people on this call could put together a Google form that could be secure and we could do it in an afternoon. So saying that it's going to take a year and be a huge budget, it's either an indictment of the efficiencies of CDFA or it was just not really, I'm not sure they've looked into this completely. So I do think that should be something that should be looked at. It seems like that would save time on both the county staff, which CDFA is paying for, and their own staff. So there could be quite a bit of cost savings there. So I'd recommend that this is something that's looked into. The final recommendation is that when county agreements are renegotiated, which I think is happening in about a year, CDFA should apply a uniform cost per hour for the reimbursement. So right now, CDFA is reimbursing the true cost for each county, and the hourly rates vary widely across the state. And so what happens is that hemp growers in parts of the state that have low county costs and those sort of subsidizing hemp growers in parts of the state with high county costs. I think CDFA should apply a uniform rate in which they'll reimburse. And if a county's actual costs are higher, that county can add an additional fee at the county level to the registrant. And this would make it so that hemp growers who are growing in areas where the counties have high costs would pay for it, and hemp growers who are growing in areas without the high cost won't have to do so. So those are the three recommendations that we had after sort of digging through the data. And I guess I can stop now and take questions or have a discussion.
There's a question. If hemp grower license fees are increased, should it be on a per acre basis and raise the fees for the small farmer? The comment, actually.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. If we can hold comments outside of the presentation or outside of this agenda item for later, I appreciate it. Before we get to any additional public comments, are there any comments or questions from any members of the board?
No comments?
I think Lisa has her hand raised.
I just have a simple comment, but the list of dollars spent by CDFA per county is great information. One thing that I guess would be nice to advance upon that would be dollars spent per applicant or dollars spent per acre. May give us an idea of how cost effective the different counties were being, and that might be interesting. That's my only comment.
And I think, Jack, if you go back to past IHAB meetings, I think we have received that information in presentations that Michelle Phillips has given in the past.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
It's a little tricky to access because there's it's usually either in a PowerPoint or a PDF. We don't get the spreadsheets to play around with and do calculations with. But yeah, most of that information has been given to the board at some time or another over the last year or two.
Thank you, Dan.
Rob Porcella here. I just wanted to comment that I think that's a great idea to develop a web portal system for hemp registration. It's a very slow moving process and very complicated. If it could be streamlined, I think that's an excellent solution to that slow moving process. And I like the fact that, you know, it was kind of called out that a year time frame to develop it. I don't know where that came from, but that's just really excessive. And yeah, I'd like to see that move forward.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, Lisa Herbert, I have a couple of questions. So the county information that was provided, to my knowledge, that is 1819 data. My contract is no longer 36,000 per year, it's 12,000 per year. So that is old data, to my knowledge, on my contract. Another comment I wanted to make is that CDFA and CACASA, the Ag Commissioner Association, does have an MOU that has expired but is being reviewed right now. And it does say that CDFA will pay us actual cost. So that is in an MOU form right now, and that's why our contracts are written as such. Another comment and ask I have is the hours per week with CDFA talking to counties seems kind of high to me. Does this include the hemp calls? So was this information, did CDFA include all hemp calls that County Ag Commissioners staff is on in this? Because if I average it out, if we have 34 counties that are growing industrial hemp, that's 85 hours per year per county. Seems highly excessive. I don't think my staff has spent 85 hours on the phone with CDFA. Those are just my comments and asks. Thank you.
I don't know, Josh, Kress, if you have any insights into that. That was just, those are the numbers that were given to Joshua Chase and I when we asked the question. So I don't know, Joshua or Kress, if you have any details about what those numbers entail.
Yeah, Van, I don't know. Those were provided by Michelle. We would have to follow up. I suspect that the 20 hours per week was likely when there were 2 environmental scientists on staff, not 3. We only had 3 on staff for a couple of months. So I suspect that it was likely when there were 2 environmental scientists on staff, so likely 40 hours a week combined, talking to counties. I know they do receive a lot of calls from counties to work through a wide range of issues regarding registration and sampling and other things, but we would have to do some additional follow-up to figure out where the 20 hours per week, where that figure came from.
Josh, this is Lisa. Can you clarify that the data that was provided for the county contracts is old?
Shadi, can you go ahead and scroll back up to that screen? It's really small. Hey, Shadi, what's the total on that?
Josh, it's a 1.5 million, Josh, a little bit over 1.5 million.
Okay. Can you clarify that question, Locke? Do you know if this is 1819 or 1920?
Yes, this is based off of 1819, 1920's county agreement because that is completed. But I believe at the time that we provided to Dan and Josh, there might have been a lag, so that number may have changed slightly.
Okay. So this likely is 1819 because the information was provided during 1920?
Yeah, because the county agreement is for 2 years, so it's 1819 and 1920's county agreement.
Okay, and this would be an average per year?
No, that is the total invoice for that county agreement time period.
Oh, okay. Not sure if that clarified it for you. But we can follow up and get more information to follow up.
I mean, I'm looking at, yeah, that's hard to say. So I'm trying to dig back to the materials Michelle sent quickly, but it's a little bit difficult.
I do want to note, just there was a quick note on a comment we received from Josh Snyder, noting that the current makeup of the IHAB posted on the website is not current. So thank you for pointing that out. We will work on that and get that up to date as soon as possible after the meeting. Thank you. Are there any other comments or discussion from the board on this agenda item? Shadi, if you want to scroll back down to the recommendations.
Just real quick, Josh, I just found the email from CDFA, and this is what I posted was the 2021 county agreement totals.
Thank you. Yeah, Lisa, again, this information was provided prior to the end of the fiscal year, so it likely was adjusted after it was provided to Van and Josh. Is there any additional discussion from the board? No, we can, Richard, if you want to go ahead and move forward with public comments.
Okay. So let's have public comments on this agenda item.
Richard, it looks like Lisa Herbert had some comments. Let me make sure she's.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, thank you, Chair Richard and Joshua Kress for clarification. I just want to point out, it's not worth splitting hairs, but my contract is dated July 1st, 2020, and it is not $63,000. It's $12,000 per year. So the data that is being provided is very dated. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
Yes, Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hi, Wayne Richmond, President, California.
I don't hear any, Josh, do you?
Oh,
yes.
Timer starting, can you hear me or not?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Again, Wayne Richmond, President of California Hemp Association. Van, thank you so much for doing the work, and Joshua, if you can hear me. Chase, thank you for contributing as well. Really important for us to have this information. I say that in the light of our team here at CHA performing our own forensics on the costs, the county agreements. In fact, I've been making information requests, as Joshua Kress well knows, sometimes 2 and 3 times, but we've gotten most of the information. I just received copies of the county contracts with certain redactions, right? So we have yet to go through that. It's 1,400 pages collectively. One of the things that I noted is that in the list of counties, there's only 47 counties. I believe the state has 58. So perhaps someone could explain to me what's happening to the missing 11 counties. Because the list is the same from fiscal year 18, 19, 19, 20, and now 2021. So that would be a question I would ask. The reason we're looking into this is obviously this program has financial difficulties. It seems to have directional difficulties. It seems to have managerial difficulties, and all of that is really not helping the farmer in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it's putting a gigantic burden on the farmers going forward that have to pay off an incredible debt that should not even exist. Had simple, rules and ideas been put in place early on, that we wouldn't even be looking at a debt based on acreage. So we, in the coming, perhaps by the next meeting, we hope there'll be a fast track to the next meeting, we will be ready to present a new tiered registration system ideas that we've worked out that we think covers a wide variety of the issues and makes it a level playing field for everyone involved. So that's the impetus for why the current forensics into costs, etc. My background is a former business development executive with Apple Computer. along with my nearly 40 years of being an entrepreneur, I think gives us, along with our other teammates who are business folks and farmers, a clear perspective on what needs to be done to get the job done here. So one, I would just hope that we would fast track, both because of Rob and Jack's ideas of the letter, and to start to get a voice in before the legislative session ends. I would urge heartily that within the next 2 to 3 weeks maximum, we have a meeting scheduled. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, any other public comments on this agenda item? And
Richard,
Go
we
ahead.
do have Josh Snyder who raised his hand. So Josh, if you can just unmute yourself and go ahead and speak.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think one thing that would be worth considering is that if CDFA had fewer complicated rules that they have to spend so much time explaining to the counties, it might reduce the administrative costs. And consulting farmers and the industry would probably be helpful in informing a way of developing more efficient regulations that would be easier on the farmer, the county, and the state. So I think that's something that should be considered.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any more public comments on this agenda item?
Richard, we do have written
Okay.
comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the first written comment comes from Jeff Finson. He says if hemp grower license fees are increased, it should be on a per acre basis and not raise the fees for the small farmer.
Thank you.
We have an additional comment from, looks like Eon Ewan. The website would be subject to government requirements. So it is not that a private contractor can put it together in a month and thrown up on the internet. It needs to be folded into state website to be accessible for text reading, etc.
Okay. Thank you.
And those are like all of our written public comments.
Okay, thank you. Well, moving right along, we have a brief update on registration, rulemaking, and other program activities. And it's going to be Locke and Josh presenting it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lachlan. I'm with CDFA's Industrial Hemp Program and Environmental Scientist. So I'm here to provide a brief update on registration, rulemaking, and other program activities. Next slide. So for the current registration, as of what was entered as of July 23rd, 2021, there were 306 registrants, of which 290 growers and 16 breeders, 426 registered sites with little more than 6,000 acres in 29 counties. The county with the most registrants is San Bernardino County at 81 registrants, while Riverside County had the most registered acres at 1,453. The figure on the right highlights counties that have current registration. So counties highlighted in green have only registered growers, while those counties that are highlighted in yellow are counties with both registered growers and breeders. Now, if you are interested in a more further detail on the summary, a monthly registration summary is available on the program's webpage. As for a registration summary since the start of registration, registration started in April 30th, 2019. Based on the calendar year that the registration was issued to the applicant, there were 667 registrations in 34 counties in 2019. There were 520 registrations for 2020 in 34 counties, with 133 registrations as renewals. In 2021, as of what was entered as of July 23rd, there have been 149 registrations that have been entered. In total, we've 1,339 registrations were issued. Renewal notices have been mailed out to this registrants on a monthly basis. As for the acreages affiliated with those registrations, in 2019, there were 1,471 sites with 40,703 acres, while in 2020, there was 914 sites with 16,823 acres. So effective January 2021, additional information is being collected regarding planting, harvest, and destruction, and the program plans to report this information to the board at least annually. So it will be reported in a future meeting. As for the registrations fees that were collected so far as of June 30th, 2021, it has been a total of $1,291,500 that has been received. With the registration fee, the county agricultural commissioners receive the fee, and then the amount then is forwarded to CDFA. So it's also important to note that any registrants that are veterans with honorable discharge, they are actually exempt from the registration fee in accordance with the Business and Profession Code, Section 16102. Now we'll move forward to the rulemaking update. So regarding current rulemaking, since the previous board meeting, CDFA proposed to adopt sections 4901, 4902 in Title III of the California Code of Regulations through regular rulemaking, and that pertains to registration application and criminal history report. The public comment period ended on July 26, 2021. The package to amend and certify the regulations was already received by the Office of Administrative Law, OAL, yesterday, August 9th, for final review and approval. So OAL has 30 working days from that date to review and either approve or deny these regulations. Meanwhile, for future rulemaking, sections 4940, 4944, and 4946 were amended by emergency rulemaking effective April 9th, 2021. This extended the harvest timeframe from 15 calendar days to 30 calendar days, along with corresponding notification timeframes. CDFA will be proceeding soon with regular rulemaking to certify and permanently adopt these amendments. As for Section 4900, on May 19, 2021, the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board recommended to increase the registration fee from $900 to $2,000 per registration. Changing the fee would require us to amend Section 4900 via the regular rulemaking process. This recommendation is currently under review by CDFA. And if you, all of our laws and regulations, as well as the proposed regulations, the law and regulations is available on the program's webpage, while the proposed regulations is available on CDFA's PHPPS regulation webpage. As for our other additional program activities, the program has received 23 laboratory applications as of July 27, 2021. 14 laboratories have been approved, while 9 laboratories are still pending approval. We just approved another laboratory as of August 2nd, so there is now 15 laboratories approved. The program is also working on filling vacant positions. That includes the senior environmental scientist, who is the board manager for the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board. We are also resubmitting California State Plan for hemp production to USDA for review and approval based on the changes to the laws and regulations. We continue to collaborate with the commissioners on the administration and enforcement of this program, updating online information and responding to public inquiries. And then finally, due to the many staffing changes that we have, we just wanted to provide our program contact information for the public. So if you ever needed to contact us, our phone number is 916-654-0435, and then that's our email, industrialhemp@cdfa.ca.gov, and then our program's webpage. And that concludes my update.
Thank you, Locke. Any further discussion or questions from the board regarding this agenda item? Can you guys hear me, or am I muted?
Yeah, we can hear you, Richard.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, if we have no further discussion or questions from the board, we'll go down to any public comments on this item.
Hello, Richard. Can you hear me?
Yes, Wayne.
Yes, thank you. My question actually is related to what the presentation we just got, but the question of, we have on the list that was presented in Van's report, only 47 of 58 counties. And the question about what's happening with the other 11 missing counties was not answered. So I'd like to bring that up again because it's germane to both presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Would you have an answer to that, Josh?
Sure. So Wayne, not every county signs an agreement to receive funds as part of the program. That doesn't remove their obligation to enforce the program. It simply means that they've chosen not to receive any funding from CDFA with regards to it. And so that is common, especially in counties with low workloads where they would not be receiving enough funds to actually offset their administrative costs of going through the trouble of actually going through the contracting process. Some counties choose not to receive funds. That's common with most of our agreements where we provide funding to the counties. I don't know if Lisa Herbert has anything else to add on that, but I think that kind of answers your question. Is that not all counties choose to receive funds for the program? Lisa?
Yeah, yes, I would agree. Thank you.
Okay, well, that does help. Would that be because those counties have bans in place and therefore they are kind of removing themselves from the opportunity? Or for some other reasons, they just don't need it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I couldn't address any of those individual 11 counties. Apologies.
Okay, so if I could, a quick follow-up question, because this pertains to something that either I'll bring it up now or I can bring it up later, but enforcement reports. There was an indication, obviously we know that there's one due annually. Why are we waiting until the end of the year when we should be able to see something now? Particularly in many counties, grows are underway and data is available. So I would like to ask a quick question related to both Sheriff Dave and to Lisa, please. Do your organizations, both CACASA and the Sheriff's Association, keep records on enforcement actions in each county related to hemp activities?
And Wayne, everybody, Dave Robinson here. No, we do not. That would be an individual agency data collection that would have to take place. And so you might have to just make 58 separate public records requests of each agency.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I will do that if that's what's required. And for CACASA?
Sorry about that, Wayne. Yes, Lisa Herbert, Sutter County. Yes, if we take an enforcement action, if we do any abatement or destruction orders, we have all of those copies of records and they are also sent to CDFA.
Okay, and is there any reason preventing those from being made public at this time? Josh or anybody for the government?
Lisa, did you have any additional information on that one?
So Josh, I guess the question would be at this
Lisa's
point.
unmuted now.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry about that. We're playing mute games.
No problem.
No, once a case is closed, I don't see any reason why we would have to vet through each county council prior to, but for public records request, we are often give out information or on cases after the case is closed.
Okay, because I've recently made a general request for such information to the program, and I don't believe it's going to be fulfilled. And I'm trying to ascertain, you know, whether it's public information or by some nature of the county contracts, that's information not to be made public unless and until some other, you know, event like the annual report that frankly should have started in 2019, I believe was required to go to the Senate, but I may be mistaken on that. However, I don't understand why there's a limitation on why we can't have up-to-date information, even on a monthly basis, as to enforcement actions in counties. The reason I say that this is important is because all of us need to understand where the workloads are that we may not understand, right? I don't understand what's going over in Kings County unless I call Sheriff Dave, and you know, he's kind enough to give me that information. And the same with you, Lisa, unless I call you specifically, I don't have that access, nor does the public. And when we're looking at costs and features and general workload as to pertains to the entire hemp industry on California counties and infrastructure, I think having this holistic view really is very helpful for us understanding what your side of it is, as well as understanding what's being put on the farmers in support of this program. Because the way it is now, this program is basically a lead weight on the back of the farmers, and it's killing us. Okay, and registrations have dropped precipitously, acreage has dropped precipitously, people are going to other states, all because of, and we're even losing program managers and members. So we're kind of like, you know, adrift. But I'm hoping that with this information on enforcement, we would all better understand both the law enforcement side as well as the agricultural enforcement side, and where those burdens of labor are actually, you know, the rubber, where the rubber meets the road. So thank you for allowing those comments.
Thank you, Wayne. Any more public comments on this agenda item?
Hi, this is Kevin Johnson. I'm a small hemp farmer in Northern California, and I have a question for Joshua Kress about the registration fees under review. And is there, what the process for that is, and is there any opportunity for revision for that? I believe that 125% increase on farmer fees is excessive, from $900 to $2,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Josh. No, I do not have any additional information at this time on what the department's decision will be with regards to the board's motion. So we are actively working on that, and there will be more information available soon, but I do not have any additional updates this time.
Do we have any more public comments on this agenda item?
Richard, we don't have any written comments and we don't see any hand raises.
Okay, we'll move on to the next board membership update. And it's going to be led by Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So yes, I did want to do a quick update on where board membership is at currently, and let the board know kind of where we're at and where we're moving. So I did again want to acknowledge we do have one new board member, Jack Norton. Jack, thank you for joining the board. We appreciate it. At the same time, since the most recent vacancy posting, and which since the last meeting, we currently have at least 4 vacancies. So one of those vacancies, founding board member Valerie Milano recently retired. So I do want to congratulate her on her retirement. I don't know that she's on, but congratulate her and thank her for her service to the sport since the very beginning. So we do have one member of an established agricultural research institution position open. We have a vacant registered grower of industrial hemp, a vacant position for a representative of a business that sells industrial hemp products, a vacant position for a representative of the Hemp Industries Association or its successor industry association. Then we have one additional board member who is not currently eligible to participate on the board due to not submitting financial disclosures, and we had not been able to coordinate with that member since then. And so he will no longer be eligible to participate on the board. And we will be needing to move forward with that vacancy as well. So unless we hear otherwise from that member and are able to try to work with him to reconcile that concern. But we have reached out many, many times over the last few months and have not been able to do so. So currently we have then 5 vacancies. And so we will be looking to post an announcement regarding those vacancies soon. And I do want to note, I do want to open it up to the board for any discussion regarding the vacancy posting, but I do also want to note that Wayne Richmond has requested in the past that the board make a recommendation to CDFA regarding that Hemp Industries Association position to specify a successor industry association, as that term is used in Food and Ag Code section 810018.5. So I do want to open it up to the board before we, as part of this. So if the board would like to discuss the overall vacancies and process for vacancy announcement further, but I also want to open up to the board if they would like to discuss the term successor industry association, if they would like to have further discussion or make any recommendations pertaining to that. Although as Wayne noted earlier, that position is will be removed and converted into a grower position in Senate Bill 292 if that bill is passed and signed as is. So I do want to open up to the board if there are any thoughts, questions, concerns, or any additional discussion on any of those topics.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, just curious, Josh, have you received any applications for any new positions?
So the last time we posted 2 vacancies last fall. We did receive a few applicants for those positions. That was Jack Norton. Again, thank you, appreciate you wading through that process as we tried to work our way through that, and for your willingness to serve on this board. And so one of those positions we were unable to fill, and in the interim, we have an additional 4 vacancies that have come up recently. This board has had a fair amount of turnover in the last 4 years as well. So that is not unheard of here for various reasons, including people leaving the industry, leaving the state, retiring, things of that nature. So we, yeah, so those are new. So we have not reposted that. And so we will be looking to do so again very soon to get moving on getting this board back up to full strength again. And trying to work through that more rapidly. But again, I do want to open up to the board for any conversation or discussion prior to the program moving forward with that.
Thanks, Josh. Do we have any further discussion or questions from the board regarding this agenda item? Okay, I don't hear any, so let's go to public comments on this agenda item.
Hi, can you hear me? Wayne Richmond,
Yes.
President of California Hemp Association. So as I thank you, and thank you, Josh, for bringing this up again. So SB 292 does include the elimination of the specifically designated Hemp Industries Association seat, which was a political giveaway long ago by the folks who put together that original legislation. I don't believe it designates specifically what role that seat should change to. And I would heartily recommend that if it takes the board getting in front of this, you need somebody from a Hemp Industries Association type, like California Hemp Association or the Hemp Farmers Guild, for example, a newly formed farmers group. Either one of us could provide the kind of input by actual business folks, and it should not go just yet. And no disrespect to our farmer friends, obviously, but you know, more voices under one umbrella. And again, no disrespect, because I love all of my farmer friends here on the board, and the others of you as well who have managed to hang in here after all these years of no doubt some frustration along the way. So I would again ask this board to make it a voting item today or at the very next meeting, and get in front of designating this seat for some hemp industry related business association. It does not have to be and should not be a specifically named organization, whether it be the one I represent or any other group. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
We do have a hand raised from Justin E. Richard. So Justin, if you can go ahead and speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your time, board and staff. I would have to kind of support Wayne in making a vote. Having half of the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board vacant is just unacceptable. Josh Kress, you've had applications multiple times. Can you or someone in your department, if you could give us contact of finding out which applications have been submitted? You guys have put this out multiple times. You should be able to pull from the pool that of applicants that have already been there. There shouldn't be an issue why there's half vacancies. That's a management problem that has been created by, I don't know if it's inadequacy or the inability to make a decision, but you guys have applicants. Make decisions, put the people on there. If Wayne's organization is going to be named, great. We've formed this new Hemp Farmers Guild. If it's our organization, great. We don't have to name an organization, but we need to choose an organization and we need to fill these roles. And we need to put a timeline of when these roles are going to be filled. So my request or my question is, can we make a decision on which organization it is today? And can we put a timeline on when we're going to fill the roles of the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board? Because things are not getting done because those roles are not being filled.
Thank you.
This is Rob Porcella. I fully agree with what Justin's saying. I don't think an organization needs to be named, like Wayne mentioned. I think, you know, a successor organization, as the terminology was broadly brushed with earlier, would be sufficient. And I think we also, we probably have people on this call that would be interested in filling some of the vacancies, and, you know, directing more people again to how to submit an application for membership on the board should, you know, be done as well, so that people can be directed to do so. But I agree with Wayne. I think that having a hemp industry association member on this board would be extremely beneficial. And I think we need to move to, you know, make that clarification and do it quickly so that we can get this board filled up.
Thank you.
Rob. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just add one quick point of clarification on the process for filling board vacancies before I know we've got a hand raised. But so for each of the vacant positions that we've had in the past, we do put out a press release. The last one was put out last fall. We had a lot of back and forth on trying to work through the applications and get applications in for that position. However, you know, the normal process is that we put out a press release with instructions on how to apply. And then CDFA will consider all applicants for the positions that they applied for and determine whether or not they meet the qualifications for that position. So for instance, for a registered grower, they must represent a business that is registered to grow in California. And the department will assess each of those applicants, determine which of those applicants actually meet the qualifications for a given position. And then the secretary will make a choice based off of the applications we receive. Normally we try to put out that press release and leave it open for at least 30 days to ensure that we do get a sufficient pool of applicants. I do not know the number of applicants we received for the last posting. It was not very many, but we certainly do appreciate any assistance that anyone has. We do not only put out a press release, we send out that information to our mailing list, which anyone who's attended one of these meetings should be on. And we appreciate any additional assistance in doing outreach on any vacant positions. So if the board would like to make a recommendation on that particular HIA or successor industry association for any clarification they would like to provide, to the secretary, the board may do so. Otherwise, the secretary will consider the applicants received for that position, determine if they qualify for that position, and make a selection.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. And it looks like, Chris, you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, this is my first visit Zooming, and I missed the little italics right before the 9-6 on the passcode, so I couldn't join you until I just saw that. So anyway, thank you for all of the information today. I thought staff, you did an excellent job in terms of helping us make our way through the discussion. But since I tried to phone you and then attempted to try to do public comment, you were just lucky today because I wasn't able to get through, or at least you didn't acknowledge that I was on the phone. So that was one thing I wanted to make a comment on under matters not on the agenda. The second one is I represent the El Dorado County. You see Diamond Springs on my name. It's Chris Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. It's the El Dorado County Community and Economic Development Advisory Committee. And then we have a subcommittee, the Industrial Hemp subcommittee, of which I'm on as a member. There's 3 of us. And we're due to report back in a month or so to our full committee. We're board appointed. There's 9 of us. But I just wanted to introduce myself to you because I felt that the information that had been provided was very informative and will help me as I have to do my own reporting to my full committee. So thank you today for allowing me to at least be entertained. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. I'll apologize on behalf of staff that we weren't able to see your hand raised earlier. We will be sure to get back to you with the agenda item number 8 there and make sure you have a chance to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody on the board want to make a motion?
Yeah, this is Rob Porchella. Can I go ahead and make a motion for one, making clarification on the one seat, and then I don't see why, if we already have a press release in hand that's backdated, just to go ahead and, stamp a current date on it and put it out for the rest of the seats.
Okay, so what is your motion exactly?
Motion is to, first off, clarification on the former HIA advisory board seats.
So,
do I have a second?
Rob, before we move to that, Rob, could you be a bit more specific on that motion? Because currently the position is listed as a representative of the Hemp Industries Association or its successor industry association. So is there clarification that the board would like to provide to the secretary that you're proposing on what that term means? Is there any additional information you'd like to provide? I just want to be clear as far as what
Sure.
the motion entails.
So, okay, I don't have the language in front of me, but what you just said was, or the successor organization. How about a successor organization? Because if it's the successor organization, that's basically saying now we got to figure out who exactly that is, and that's designating a specific organization. We should open it to an organization. As we know, there's a number of different organizations that have kind of, taken up the charge. And can we clarify that it's open to a successor organization? And then we can have applicants from these successor organizations that we have, so that we can get that seat filled with someone from one of those organizations.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So the language says its successor organization. So your motion would be that the secretary would consider any hemp industry association, a representative from any hemp industry association for board membership in that position? Or can you be a bit more specific in your motion so that way I can make sure that we get it down correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be from a successor organization.
Thank you. Was there a second?
I'll second that.
And who is this? Is that Jack?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to clarify that the language in Food and Ag Code 81001, where it states its successor or the Hemp Industry Association or its successor or association, that language should be interpreted as a successor organization to open up applications to a wide variety of hemp industry association, of hemp industry association representing hemp growers. Did I get that correctly there, Rob?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Richard, you want to open up for any further discussion by the board?
The board on this motion? What about public comments? Okay, well, let's
Richard?
take a vote here.
Richard, before you take the vote, we do have a public comment from Wayne Richmond. He stated, or any successor in state association of hemp growers and business folks.
Can you read that comment one more time for clarification?
Sure. Wayne Richmond stated, or any successor in state association of hemp growers and biz folks, or business folks.
Hi, I can help clarify that if you'll allow me, right? If you need any.
Sure.
Wayne
Go for it,
Richmond,
Wayne.
President, California
Okay.
Hemp Association. Yeah, I'm just suggesting it be wide open. So it gives everybody an opportunity, right? So I'm suggesting that language might be something like, or any successor in state association of hemp growers and business folks, because there's more than just one side of this equation. So whether it's, the Hemp Farmers Guild folks or California Hemp Association folks, I think opening it up just broadly to any in-state association of hemp growers and business folks covers all the associations now in play and those that might come to the foray in the future. How's that sound? Kind of wide open, but clearly it eliminates HIA's hold over this seat. Thank you.
Well, back to you, Rob. That wasn't in your original motion. So it's back to you.
Okay. Well, I'm not opposed to that language. I think that actually just further clarifies the point that I was actually trying to make. So that's just a further clarification of it. And I would go ahead and submit that language as, what we can go ahead and change it to, because that's the point I'm trying to make.
Thank you, Rob. So just to clarify, so you would like to amend your motion for any successor in-state association of hemp growers and business folks?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. Were there any additional public comments or questions?
Jack here, if I need to
Jack.
amend my second, I do so, anything like that.
Okay, yeah, you'll retain your second. Sounds good. Thank you.
There was a comment from Lisa Herbert. Does this need legal interpretation
Okay.
of?
No more public comments?
Hold on, we have something from Lisa that was written. Go ahead.
Does this need legal interpretation of FAC 810015?
You mean CDFA legal? Is that the question there, Lisa? I don't know if you're able to unmute.
Yes, hi, this is Lisa. Yes, Josh, does CDFA legal need to do an interpretation of 810015? We can't arbitrarily just state that we want something, right?
So at this point, there's no further clarification. We've discussed this. believe we've mentioned that in the past, but there's no further clarification in the Food and Ag Code on this. We've looked into it. We have not been able to find any other similar language in other statutes or other laws that would prohibit any additional clarification. So if the board makes a recommendation to clarify how they would like the secretary to consider for this position, we can take that into consideration. And I mean, yes, the board's recommendation would be vetted by CDFA legal, but this would be within the board's authority to make that recommendation. Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, any other public comments? Oops.
We do have an additional written public comment from Josh Snyder. He stated, "Why are you leaving a defunct organization's name in the process? Perhaps consider suggesting this to one I have seat should be reserved for a hemp industry association based in California."
Thank you for the comment, Josh. Just to clarify, so the language, it's in the Food and Ag Code. The department does not have discretion on actually changing it or removing it. However, I think as was discussed, there is the opportunity to further interpret and administer that provision. And so while we cannot remove the term Hemp Industries Association from the Food and Agricultural Code, getting direction from what we're seeking is direction from the board on how the board would like CDFA to move forward with trying to fill, and the clarification that was provided via the motion of an in-state organization. I believe that addresses your second concern there. But thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
We have another written public comment from Dylan.
Okay.
Says, "It seems like the CDFA regulations are falling behind other similar programs in the nation. I would like to see someone with more technical expertise on the board. Colorado is revamping their program, and this program is severely lacking. Can the board consider putting someone more technical on there?"
Interesting.
I'd be interested to know what specific area of technical expertise the commenter was referring to.
Are we able to ask the commenter to unmute to be able to answer Jack's question?
Dylan, you have the ability to unmute if you would like to unmute at this moment and speak.
Dylan responded lab testing. He doesn't currently have a mic.
Thank you.
Do we have any more public comments?
Yes, we do. Dylan also asked if we can please repeat the 5 vacancies or put them on the screen briefly.
Sure, I'll go ahead and run through them. Actually, let me see if I can, Charlie, let me see if I can share screen because I've got the Food and Ag Code pulled up, and I'll just go ahead and do that. Just give me a minute here, please. All right, so hopefully you all can see this is the provision of the Food and Agricultural Code pertaining to the Industrial Hemp Advisory Board makeup. 13 members, and so here is the breakdown of the membership there for you. So currently vacancies, we will have 2 registered growers. That first position, we have 2 registered growers, grower positions vacant. We have one member of an established agricultural research institution vacant. We have the one, this one here, number 5, a member of the board that's a representative of the Hemp Industry Association or its successor association that the motion is in reference to. And then we have one of the 2 members that are representatives of businesses that sell industrial hemp products. So again, 2 growers, 1 research institution, 1 representative of an industry association, and 1 representative of a business that sells hemp products. So hopefully that answered your question there. We'll go ahead and if there are no additional, if we can ask for any additional comments or questions regarding the motion at hand. And if none, if we can go ahead and, Richard, if we can go ahead and move forward to a vote, but let's check to see if there are additional comments or questions on this particular motion.
Wayne Richmond had a comment, a written comment. He asked, does the seat motion get voted on first?
Well, that's the motion that we have on the table right now.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually asked when we looked like we were going afield with some of the questions. So it's kind of a moot point at this point. I was just wondering when we were going to get to that vote. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any more public comments?
We have one from Kareem Kassim. He stated that the commentator was mistaken. They are referring to CDPHE regulations in Colorado, which are akin to CDPH in California.
All right, well, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, Richard, if you want to go ahead and I think we're good to go ahead and move forward with the board votes. If you can go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay. Van, I'll just go down the list here. Van, how do you vote? Okay, I don't hear Van. Lisa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sorry, I had been muted by CDFA, but I vote yes. This is Vance.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Jack?
I vote yes.
Okay. Rob?
Vote yes.
Okay, Vanessa?
I vote yes.
Dave Robinson?
Yeah.
Okay, myself, Richard, I vote yes. So it looks like the motion passes. Unanimously.
Thank you all. And then Rob, maybe Richard, if we can go back to Rob, it looked like you may have a second motion or a second request.
Okay.
With regards to this issue.
No, I didn't have a second. I don't know. The only thing I had mentioned previously was just to, getting the information released. You had mentioned that the last time you had posted for these vacancies was last fall. We're going into, fall this year. So if it's been a year, I'd like to, I don't need to make a motion for you to repost the vacancies, do I?
Sorry, I was muted. No, you're correct. And we would repost with the same information as previously, except for making sure that the contact information is current, so all the requests don't go to Michelle Phillips, but otherwise we would move forward with posting as was done previously.
Great.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, well, the motion passed. Let's go on to the next item on the agenda. It's the annual board meeting schedule. And the discussion is led by me. We have a request from Van to schedule regular board meeting dates in advance. Maybe the second Tuesday every February, May, August, and November. And then I got a note from Jay Carrot.
Yeah, so Richard, and just I'll go ahead and clarify real quick for you.
Okay.
So just so the board knows, we don't need a motion to move forward on this. But we did, Van, you had mentioned a couple of times about trying to set up regular meetings and setting them up well in advance. And if the board would like to do so, that's up to the board. At a meeting, I believe earlier this year, There was a discussion on setting quarterly meeting dates. I believe the next quarterly meeting date that was discussed at that time would have been November 9th, but that would be up to the board on kind of a time frame and a regular set schedule that the board would like to see, which of course would not prevent the board from having additional meetings in the interim for specific issues, as was discussed earlier, where it looks like there is at least one, if not two, specific issues that the board would like to discuss sooner than later. I don't know, Van, did you have anything else you would like to add on that topic? This was an issue that.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this. This has been a huge frustration for me over the last 4 years I've been on the board, is that CDFA has been negligent in scheduling meetings. And, over the last multiple years, I've sent multiple emails to Michelle when she was the head, requesting meetings and saying we need to get on a schedule, and them saying, oh, I need to do a doodle poll, and it taking 2 months for them to do a poll. And it's been really tough. It's made it basically impossible for the board to operate efficiently, because we don't meet enough that we're able to keep things moving. And I'm on multiple boards, and every other board I'm on, we just have quarterly meetings, and we schedule them for the next 3 years. And it's not a big deal. You just have it on your calendar. You know that near the second Tuesday of the quarter, or whatever month we choose, we have meetings, and we just do it. And if we have to plan extra meetings, that's fine. If we have emergencies that we need to react to, we can do that as well. But it's been a huge frustration, and this board really has struggled to get much done. And I think part of it is just because CDFA has been really negligent in allowing us to meet. And so I really think that we need to take control of it and just say, hey, we're going to meet every quarter. I don't really have a strong preference, date or time. I'm fine with it, but let's just say we're going to meet every quarter, put the dates on the calendar, schedule it for the next 3 years, and be done with it, and call extra meetings if we need to.
Thank you, Van. Do I have any other discussion from the board regarding this agenda item?
Hey, Richard, it's Dave Robinson. Just real quick, I don't particularly care if they get scheduled or not scheduled, and so I'm good either way. I just would like to ask that they not be on Tuesday mornings. That's my regular board meeting every Tuesday, and most sheriffs, whether it's me or not on the board, have Tuesday meetings for their board of supervisors. And so Tuesdays are just super difficult. So if they do get scheduled, I just ask that Tuesday not be the day that they get scheduled, or do it Tuesday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
This is Lisa Herbert. My board meetings are Tuesday afternoons, so I'm quite the opposite. So let's eliminate Tuesdays altogether. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments from the board regarding this agenda item?
Sure, Jack here. I agree that we should perhaps take Tuesdays off the table. Those are very busy days for public policy, local public policy in general. All Board of Supervisors meetings are on Tuesdays, if I recall correctly. And I also like Van's idea that we just go ahead and schedule several years into the future.
Okay. Well, we don't need a motion item for this. So Van, back to you. What do you suggest?
Let's meet the third Thursday after the beginning of each quarter. If anybody has any problem, and as we've noted, we can meet more often if we need to, but let's get these ones on the docket. So does anybody have issues with Thursdays? And does anybody have a preference for morning or afternoon? I'm fine either way.
Yeah, I prefer the 10 o'clock time that we start in the morning. Good for me.
I like the 10 a.m. time as well.
I would agree with that too.
So just to clarify, so the proposals for the third Thursday of the quarter, so that would be what, January, April, July, and October, is that correct?
That would be great. And so it'd be great if someone from CDFA would, schedule those meetings and send out calendar invitations and sort of, make it official. So it's not just something we remember. If we're smart enough to remember to write it down right now.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Shadi will want to coordinate on that just to make sure that we don't tie the invitations to a particular staff member. But yeah, we can make those arrangements.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Lisa, Sutter County, can we go to the second Thursday? The third Thursday is bad for me as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second works for me.
Okay. Works for me too.
That's fine.
Okay, do we have any more public we need a public comment on this agenda item?
Yeah, so is
Hey,
there,
Richard,
I was just gonna see if there's
do
any
have,
more,
oh,
is
go
there any
ahead,
more
go ahead, Josh.
discussion from the board real quick? It sounded like we heard from everybody, just making sure there's no more discussion from the board and then can turn it over to public comments.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion from the board regarding this agenda item? It looks like it would be the second Thursday of each quarter at 10 o'clock then. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
Go ahead, Shadi.
Yeah, it looks like Wayne Richmond has his hand raised. Wayne, you're unmuted and you can speak.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can you hear me? One, thank you, Van, for bringing this up again and supporting, I know what Sheriff Dave brought up, I think it was about a year ago, quarterly meeting. So I'm glad we're now pegging it down and it's something that really needs to be done. And I support all of the comments that you made regarding well, I'll just leave it at that. So thank you all for doing that. I would also suggest that we consider a couple things. One, we do need another meeting well before the October, if that's what we're shifting to next time frame. If nothing else, the legislation and the legislators are listening in on these calls, and we have an opportunity, and the farmers have an opportunity through this medium to have their voices heard, in addition to the ways that were pointed out earlier through the legislative info site. So I would just suggest that that's kind of something we should fast track here in the next perhaps 3 weeks before the legislative session ends. So thank you for that, and thank you all for supporting pegging things down. We really do need to do that. And the other reason to fast track the meeting is because of Rob and Jack's letter to the secretary. So I think we have two things that could happen rather quickly. Further, I would like to just let the public know, as well as board members who are not aware, no one has to sit on ceremony. It only takes 4 of you to request a meeting and set an agenda. You don't need to wait for Richard or Joshua Kress to initiate those. So any 4 of you together can do that at any time for your own reasons or reasons because of your constituency, like the rest of us might require. So feel free to exercise your power in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
So we're open for public comments.
Looks like we have no other public comments.
Okay, well, now we're coming to the next meeting. Before we start our quarterly meetings, it sounds like.
We actually do have a comment/question. Are there laws in California prohibiting the sale of hemp CBD products, namely smokables and CBD oil?
Thank you. So I think with that,
From Jeff Feinstein.
appreciate that. Yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and Richard, if you're okay, we'll go ahead and start with that, with the public comments on matters not on the agenda.
Okay,
And
let's
so,
start with that.
Yeah, so with regards to that question, CDFA can't is not familiar or aware of any laws on the books. The one caveat to that is what was mentioned earlier, which is Assembly Bill 45, which does propose rules and regulations regarding the manufacturing and sale of industrial hemp products. And so I would suggest, again, referring to that bill, referring to the legislature, and referring to the Department of Public Health, who would be overseeing that and who also oversees the sale of food and other products for human consumption.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any other public comments?
Yeah, this is Chris Payne from El Dorado County. Earlier, I joined you by Zoom, and I did have a couple of just general comments. First of all, the subcommittee that I'm on is an industrial hemp subcommittee. And I don't know if you know El Dorado County, but we currently have a moratorium on industrial hemp until the end of the year. So therefore, our committee is working very hard to try to bring some additional information, as well as our Agricultural Commission has been assigned by the Board of Supervisors to bring something back which would allow actions to be taken, regardless of what action might be taken. We have this obligation. So therefore, I thank you, like I said earlier, which I shouldn't have because it wasn't just general public comment, but I thank you for allowing me to find out so much information. Wayne Richmond, I appreciate your comments on AB 45 and SB 292, and also staff, again, very nicely done. And I do appreciate also the No Tuesdays, because right now I'm listening to this or Zooming with you in earshot of our Board of Supervisors chamber, and they're currently having their own agenda. So thank you very much. I appreciate our host, and that's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear any public comments on matters not on the agenda?
Hey, Richard, we do have a written comment from Jay Hartley. He
Okay.
asked, are there any updates on USDA approval of California's hemp plan?
Do you want to answer that, Josh?
Sure. So Lop mentioned that briefly during her update earlier, but currently California is in the process of revising our hemp plan based off of changes to federal regulations as well as changes to California law and California regulations, and we will be resubmitting. I do not have an update at this point on time frame for that or any additional information, but we are actively working on it. And I will also note, as we've noted previously, that we are also actively working with USDA on that process and seeking informal guidance from them to try to ensure that our plan will be approved once it is resubmitted. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Vanessa Ramirez. I have a question. So Josh, you say that there is no timeline on the USDA regulation. So there is no like milestones that we say in a month, 2 months, I should have this down, nothing like that?
Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline for you at this point. We'll try to provide a more detailed update to you, to the board, and to the public soon. But unfortunately, I don't have any additional information I can provide at this time.
And also no one has any information of whether if smokable hemp can be sold here in California. So we have to go to the assembly floor and read the AB 45. Actually, AB 45, I know they're trying to ban it there, but there is nothing in concrete that tells us whether we can do it or not, right?
So again, that's outside of CDFA's jurisdiction. We regulate and enforce actions pertaining to cultivation and plants in the ground. We don't regulate the sale of smokable product, of any smokable products. And so again, I would direct you to contact the California Department of Public Health or local health officials who may have more information. But unfortunately, that falls well outside of CDFA's jurisdiction and also well outside of our expertise.
Thank you, Josh. Do you have any other public comments?
We have no additional public comments.
Thank you. Well, for our next meeting, it sounds like we need to meet sooner. Does anybody have a date they'd like to pick?
Looks like Vanessa's hand is raised.
Yes, I would suggest September 1st, which is, it would be on a Thursday and it's 3 weeks. So that way, would that give Robert and Jack enough time to draft the letter? And then we can have the 2-week notice for a public meeting. So I suggest September 1st to have the next meeting.
Would that work, Josh?
So 3 weeks would be enough time to put together the meeting notice and get it posted and work with our crew to get it set up. You know, but I'm not the one that would be presenting that information. So Rob and Jack, appreciate your feedback on that one.
I'm good with that. Did you say a Thursday the 1st? I'm seeing Thursday being the 2nd of September.
Yes, the 2nd. September 2nd.
Could we have it a week earlier? I'll be out of town that week, the 1st week of September.
I don't think we could do
Would
it
that
any
give us
earlier
enough time?
because of, you know, having that giving us about a week to construct the letter.
Correct.
Or could we be a week later?
Is there any issue with being a week later? Anybody?
I don't see an issue.
Any public comment allowed here? I would venture to say, while we'll miss you, Richard, you'll have a nice vacation. Please appoint somebody else to run the meeting sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, then we could have the meeting on, I guess, September 1st then.
The 2nd. It was Thursday, September 2nd.
September 2nd, Thursday.
What would that make the deadline for the letter? Just so Rob and I are very clear on that. That would be the 19th then, or would it need to be the 18th or the 17th?
So I'll lean on staff a little bit, but we've got, so for to comply with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, we would need to post anything that would be discussed by the board at least 10 days in advance. Our standard is normally 2 weeks, but it is technically 10 calendar days. And so if that in particular, if your document is still under development, we would have until, let's see, we're looking at the 2nd, so the 23rd, Monday the 23rd, we would need to have that posted by. But we would also need a little bit of flexibility there to ensure that whatever you provide us for posting, we are able to make compliant for accessibility requirements. Because we do have to make sure that any documents that are posted to the public website are accessible.
How about we submit it to you by next Friday, the 20th?
That should be fine. I'll go ahead and speak for staff that should be fine.
Good with that, Jack?
Yep, that sounds like that'll work.
Okay.
So it sounds like there's a board meeting scheduled for September 2nd. Staff will reach out to all the board members to try to ensure that we will have a quorum at that meeting. We would need a quorum in order to have a motion. And so we'll work on getting that prepared. We've got the agenda item of the letter with regards, proposed letter from this task force with regards to Senate Bill 292. Are there any other agenda items? that the board would like to consider. Again, keeping this on a rapid time frame and trying to get the meeting turned over quickly. The meeting could be focused on a small number of items that is normally preferred. But go ahead, Rob, did you have something to add?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, the next item then would be adjournment. And looks like we're adjournment is at 12:24. Thank you, everybody that showed up, and thank you again.
Hey, Richard, before you end the meeting, it looks like Wayne Richmond had some additional public comments.
Okay.
Wayne, you've been unmuted, or you have the ability to unmute?
Okay, great. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, one, I did want to close off on saying a suggested agenda item in addition to Rob and Jack's letter would be another legislative update, particularly on these two bills, which is kind of another reason why I see we should be getting together so that the public has an opportunity to share their thoughts and get an update on exactly what's happening. Things will move really quickly here shortly. In addition, I would previously requested, we have at CHA been working on a new suggestion for a tiered registration system that we think is a lot more balanced than just jumping to generally large numbers. And we would like to submit that for the board's review and comments and perhaps adoption in lieu of jumping from $900 registration fees to $2,000 registration fees for everyone, no matter whether you want to grow the legal minimum of 1/10 of an acre or whether you want to grow 10,000 acres. That's inherently part of, I think, the problem in getting the industry going here in California. It's certainly not equitable. And I believe within this new meeting coming up on the 2nd, that we can have a presentation certainly in the hands of the CDFA by the August 23rd due date. If you'll adopt that as an agenda item, we will make it happen. Thank you. And by the way, I wanted to just thank all of you for your hard work and staying in there. And Josh, thanks for taking, the comments that are being made, by all the participants and as regards to, some hard feelings, unfortunately, as to how things have been going in this program. But I hope you'll take it to heart and understand that, it's going to take all of us working together to make this a profitable industry. And, that means keeping jobs both in the bureaucracy, and the industry. So thank you all for the work that you do. And thank you for allowing me the time to comment today.
Thank you, Wayne. So just to clarify for the board very quickly, so Wayne suggested also having an update on Assembly Bill 45 in addition to the letter and update on Senate Bill 292. That sounds fine to me, but if the board has any objection to that, otherwise we'll go ahead and include that as well on the agenda. With regards to a proposed fee structure, Wayne, yeah, if you would, and again, as I mentioned to you previously, if you would like to submit that to me, to us, so that way we can potentially present that at a board meeting or present it to a board member for proposal at the next meeting. Again, I don't have any objection to that, but if the board would like to discuss that very briefly before we adjourn or has any other questions or comments, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, Wayne, we can connect offline.
Yeah, this is Rob Porcello. I'd love to support that. I was one of the few of us that voted no on that fee increase. If we can make it a little fair and equitable for small farmers, and I would like to see that. I'd like to see that happen.
Any other comments?
We have no additional public comments.
Okay, then I guess we can adjourn then at 12:28.
Thank you.
Thanks
Everyone.
again, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.